Hello again, Michael Friedberg here from beautiful North Carolina, and today it's not really a review shave. I'll be talking about a product that I'm using, but it's really a prototype soap, one among a number that I've been helping to test. So it's just kind of a general, let's just sit down and have a shave. So for today, the soap is going to be this one, which is from a particular manufacturer. I'm not going to go into who's making this or sort of what the ingredients are. It's one of 4 prototypes I've been testing. And the idea, I think, is to try to get a feel for the amount of a particular ingredient that can go into the soap. Some really interesting results, and it's always kind of funny to provide feedback on a soap where you don't really know what's in it. You don't know what's in the other ones. The scent is kind of a just throw a scent in there to see if the base can hold a scent in the first place. And I'll talk about how that's gone over the course of the week. The brush is going to be this green-handled synthetic brush from Yaqi, which I've used for testing all 4 of the soap bases all week. I used all 4, and then I did an additional shave with what I thought was the best one, which is this one. And then I'll kind of talk through how all 4 of them worked for me. Today's razor is going to be the return of an old favorite. It's going to be the fine Marvel. And that's in part because the head design for the Marvel in some ways shares a bit of the design aesthetic from the live West Coast shaving razor I used, what is it, a week ago already? It's going to have be a Gillette Silver Blue. This is the second blade of the week. 4 shaves went great, but then it was completely done. So yes, this is the second of the 2. I'm just putting the head together. I will be including the standard nylon washer. I get a lot of questions about that. It's a 1 millimeter thick nylon washer, 5 millimeter interior diameter, 10 millimeter exterior diameter. I think you can buy them in bulk from all over the place. All right, I'm going to wet my face and we'll get the soap going. Yeah, so the 4 soaps are, they're sort of the same and sort of not. One of them is quite a different color than this one and very, very soft in texture. One of them is almost kind of gluey, pasty. This is the first one that I tried, and I've come back to it for this final shave. Let me just go ahead and get it lathered up. Each of these soaps behaved differently. So yes, changes in the base did have an impact. They also shared some very distinct similarities, which I'll talk about in just a minute. I apologize for the clinking. This is one of these brushes that's really quite hard to load in here for some reason without the clanking. And as you may well know, I'm not a big fan of that sound. All right, the scent on this, by the way, is a throwaway kind of slightly, I don't want to say rank, but not a pleasant tobacco scent. And so that's been a bit of a struggle for the course of the week because these soaps don't smell good and they're not supposed to smell good. It's just to see how well the base holds a scent. All right, so there you go. You can see that's a little bit foamy, right? That's a little bit soft, but still holding together a little bit. So some of the things I look for when I am trying a soap, and by the way, I've done this a number of times where I'm sort of helping to test soap bases. It's really good to sort of start at them blind and have no idea really what's in them. So you can see there's quite a bit of foam there. It has a bit of a sheen to it already. Let's go and get the lather going. So those are some of the things I look for, like when I'm loading it in the bowl, does it really produce a lot of kind of very airy, frothy lather? Does it create a thick paste quickly? How easy is it for the brush to pick up if it's a very soft, tacky soap? Sometimes loading that much in the bowl creates way too much soap in the brush, and then you're spending a lot of time trying to add enough water. So for very soft soaps, the first thing I experiment with is just dipping the tips into the soft soap to see if you can get enough there to build a good lather with. So as you can see, this is in fact actually building what looks like a kind of a traditional shave soap lather. I'm going to add some water to that. Things you're looking for are sort of density, how much water the soap can take, how does it feel on the face, does it feel soft, does it feel pasty, does it feel kind of chalky and overly heavy. You know, does it start forming a heavier, sort of dense, creamy lather? Does it take on a shine? How much water can you add? I mean, there's a host of things that you might be trying just to get a good feel for how well the lather itself builds. And then obviously the real test comes when it's time to shave. So as you can see, this is overall, this is pretty good lather stability. It is building up some denser pieces. There's some spots where it's a little bit heavy, but it doesn't have an overly heavy kind of dense feel to it. Can take a fair amount of water, but not too much. Don't worry about the fact that it's thin. And I think a lot of people tend to think that good lather is like a really voluminous lather, and I don't know that that's really true. This, by the way, is one other thing I tend to look for, is how weak, in a way, the lather is, like how drippy it becomes. Really drippy lather is good, but if I haven't added a lot of water to this and it already is kind of falling apart, which this isn't, but if it's like really drippy, then you know that that soap is probably really not holding up. All right, let's go and start shaving. We'll talk about the other three. Apologies, there's lather kind of all over my shirt, but no matter. Try to remove that. So the other three soaps were increasingly flat in texture. And by that I mean they created a lather with almost no air in it. It looked a bit like actual paint going on. Quite shiny. Slick, but oddly without what I describe as protection. And this is one of those terms that kind of drives people crazy, because really what do you mean by protection? But for me, when you're shaving over a spot and the soap is just basically completely gone when you're done shaving over that part of the lather and it's kind of naked skin, to me that's little protection. Protection and residual slickness are kind of two sides of the same coin for me. Because you want the soap to be slick to really help the razor and the blade move smoothly over your skin. And the protection piece, at least for me, is a sense that there's a slight thin layer that remains between you and the blade. And when you don't have that, it's like you have too much sort of naked blade feel on your skin. This is good slickness. And definitely better protection than the other three. There's a bit of a feel that there's still some soap left behind. Residual slickness is really, it's fair. One of the other soaps had amazing residual slickness. When you would wet your face, it would almost start to foam up again. All right, let's lather up again. Coming back to the Fine Marvel, by the way, that is still an excellent razor for me, but I 100% understand why people are a little bit taken aback by the face feel of that. It's aggressive in the sense that you can really feel the blade, but what you don't feel is the blade moving. Yes, you can tell the blade is there, but for me, that blade feels very safe on the face. There we go. And that, as a second lather, feels nice and creamy, nice and slick. You can add a touch of water to that to see how that reacts. Just get a nice, very slick feel to it. And yes, in case you're wondering, all four of those soaps taste terrible. All right, pass number 2, this is going to be across the grain. Yeah, and the last week or so, I think after the live review, there's been a bit of toing and froing, shall we say, about the benefits or lack thereof of a razor head design that completely covers the end tabs. And the argument seems to be primarily focused around two things. If the end tabs aren't exposed, how do you get the blade out of the head? And two, why do the exposed end tabs matter? Just be careful and you should never have a problem. And to the first one, I would say, yeah, I've never had a problem taking a blade out of a razor head when the end tabs weren't exposed. You just take the blade out of the head, and if you're struggling, you can hold the head with your finger on the top, underneath the cap, and your finger on top of the post, and you just pull the blade out. No issue at all. So for me, that doesn't seem like much of an objection. For me. Yeah, so by the way, this is where the soap begins to fall apart a little bit. It does not really hold the slickness. Not dissipating, but if you let it sit, I feel like it's losing it a little bit. And then for the exposed end tabs, there are two spots in my shave where they really do cause me a bit of worry. Like I have to actually watch out for what's happening. Number one, that is right here. So when I'm shaving down here, because of my windpipe, the way it curves in right here and here, which a lot of you may not have, but for me, when the edge of the razor is right there, the end tab is potentially cutting into this spot here. And by the way, that really doesn't feel good. That end tab is a tiny little sharp corner of metal, and that going against your skin there, it doesn't feel good, and it makes it harder to shave there if the end tab isn't covered. And the second spot is right here. When I now turn the razor to get underneath my nose, you can move the tip of your nose all you like. It's that rim right there. And the razor has to get right under there, because even though you can't see the fact that my mustache grows that high, there's a line of small hairs there that are not as dark as the others, but they do need to get shaved off. So right here, if you're not careful, that is going to twang right into your nostril. Even if I pull my lip down, that's very close. Now you may not have that problem, but for people like me who do, right there. The exposed end tab is something that you do need to watch out for. All right, final pass. Yeah, I'm enjoying this soap, but I think this soap is 100% not ready. There's still clearly work to be done on it, and I have no idea if this particular prototype is going to see the light of day. It might not. And it's really just kind of fun to help experiment a little bit, provide some feedback. I will tell you though that it is a little bit nerve-wracking, because what if there are 10 people testing and you're the only one struggling with that soap? Maybe you're just doing it all wrong. And it's possible, but I've shared my experiences and gotten some good feedback from the person making the soaps. Always fun to do, and I look forward to doing more of that in the future. I've done it with some razor designs, done it with some soaps. An aftershave, I think. All right, let's rinse my hands. Ugh, get that soap out of my mouth. Ugh. All right, yeah, and the scent I know is not good, but it's really been kind of hard to get past it during the week, because it is just, for me, not a pleasant tobacco scent. And right here is where a denser soap, for me, and the way that this razor feels on the face, I definitely want a bit more slickness and just a sense that there's a bit of soap between me and the blade. Yeah, for one of the other three that I used, I did make it all the way through the shave, but It was 100% a no for me. Well into the, with the green. But as they say, for science, I persevered. Yeah, I really like this razor, but I completely understand why there are people that get this and they're looking forward to this kind of miraculous, super clean, easy shave, and they just don't like the way that blade feels on their face. Totally get it. There we go, almost done. And then we can move on to controversy number 2. Apparently, one thing which the soaper did recommend was don't over rinse. In fact, removing too much of the soap with water apparently can help make it more drying, which I was really intrigued by that, actually. So I'm going to stop right there and just towel off. No real irritation, but a little bit of just heat underneath there, which I think is because the soap itself is just missing that extra notch of sort of slickness and density for me. All right, I'm gonna pat myself dry. Now, the aftershave controversy. This is where it got pretty good too. There are a variety, well, not a variety, there are people on one side or another of the whole alcohol-based aftershave. Alcohol is bad for your skin and you shouldn't use it. You should only use an aftershave balm. And I'm in the camp that says, look, you already dried your face out with soap anyway. Soap is drying regardless. Go ahead and add the splash if you like the feel of it. No one's going to pretend that this is skin food. This is not meant to nourish your skin or hydrate your skin or protect your skin. It's meant as a kind of a cooling splash and a sensation and a freshness at the end of the shave. I like an alcohol-based aftershave. I know it's not good for my skin, and I use them anyway because I like the face feel. And by the way, I think you can all see how close this Myrsol is to being finished. So I'm going to continue to use this for the next couple shaves this week because if I finish this bottle, I will let you all finish that sentence because you know what's going to happen. I really like this stuff. And if you don't like aftershave splashes, that's fine. If you're really focused on just skin for your post-shave, yeah, these are not for you. But I really enjoyed that feel. Oh, a little touch of menthol. This Formula C just has a great scent to it. Oh, this to me feels like the right way to finish off a shave. And then come back later once it's really dried down and then add the balm. I mean, you could wait a minute maybe or just apply right after the fact. But to me, when it's still cooling off and sort of just working its magic, it feels wrong to apply the balm right now. I kind of want to let this face feel subside a little bit and enjoy it and then come back afterwards and apply a soothing skin balm. All right, my friends, we are done. Let's do a super quick recap. Razor, fine marvel. I love it. It works really well for me. Definitely, you get a lot of blade feel on the skin. Definitely recommend you are watching your lathers in this case. A poor lather in this razor I think is going to lead to a little bit of problem. It has a fair amount of surface area touching your skin. It still doesn't, for me, introduce any kind of real drag. Still feels very comfortable and still absolutely one of my favorite razors. Really enjoy shaving with that. I know you can't see this, but this is prototype number 1 of the 4 that I use. Really appreciate the opportunity to try these out and to provide some feedback. And I am intrigued to see where those soaps or that soap base goes. Lathered up with this wonderful synthetic brush from Yaqi, which is easy to use, sprays easily. You know, just a good mix of backbone, very soft tips, just an easy to use synthetic brush. And then closing out on one of my favorites, Myrsol alcohol-based aftershave. This is the Formula C. Beautiful scent. As you can see, I can barely stand this stuff. This is going to be gone shortly. All right, my friends, that's it. We're done. An easy, quick Sunday shave. Thank you again so much for watching. Really appreciate the time you're taking to watch these. I hope you enjoyed this one. As always, please feel free to leave your comments, your questions, your feedback, your thoughts on alcohol-based aftershaves, your love or hate for the exposed end tabs. Always, I will try to get back to your questions and comments as quickly as I can. Obviously, once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.